Hello, I'm April Van Camp.
And I'm Stephen Knapp. April and I are both professors in the English department here at Indian River State College. Welcome to World Literature, the Journey of Human Promise. World literature examines the human record in different kinds of stories preserved through time, revealing the shared human experience and imagination, which was preserved for our entertainment, enlightenment, and admonishment. Even in stone and clay, people recorded everything from accounts receivable to poems, stories, and songs. The world's literary record is a treasure trove more vast and valuable than any room full of hidden gold and silver.
Our job this semester is to examine some of this treasure and to see what we can discover about ourselves, humanity more generally, and our mysterious world. Here at IRSC and elsewhere, world literature is broken into two parts. The first part, Lit 2110, takes us to the Renaissance period, to the 17th century. The second part, Lit 2120, takes us up to the present. Students enrolled in the LIT 1 course should consider signing up next term for the Lit 2 course to finish the story of world literature. While it's not necessary to take these courses in order, they do fit together and tell one common story. Whichever course you're taking, welcome again, and we're glad you're here. Are you ready to get started?
World literature puts us in contact with the past, but we don't go there as historians looking for facts. We don't intend to reconstruct the social, political, or cultural context of the past. Instead, we go to the worldwide literary record as humans, looking at ourselves and our common human experience. Sure, there are those who say that this journey will take us into the heart of darkness, the darkness of the human soul. Such people believe that our expedition is dangerous, like the character Kurtz in Conrad's famous novel, Heart of Darkness. Some people never return from their journey into the depths of the human soul. Maybe, but others say that such a journey will reveal to us the better angels of our nature, the sublime. Author G.K. Chesterton suggests in his detective novel, The Man Who Was Thursday, that there are two ways of looking at things. And Sunday, Chesterton's mysterious character, who symbolizes nature in the novel, can be seen two ways. Gabriel Syme, the protagonist, exclaims of Sunday, "When I saw him from behind, I was certain he was an animal. And when I saw him in front, I knew he was a god." Chesterton suggests that the best way to examine the world of nature is to look into its face, and the face of nature, we are given to understand, is humankind. Therefore, let's keep an open mind about what we're about to journey into world literature. Let's take the tour. Let's journey along the way, writing responses or essays, whatever our assignments happen to be, and we can draw our conclusions afterwards when we've seen the literary record.
By studying world literature, we can find answers to human questions. Are all people everywhere and at all times alike? What connects us to people in faraway lands and in bygone eras? How have people changed? What connects us to all other people in our contemporary world? This is not the dead quest for some dusty history. Instead, it's a quest for ultimate meaning. What can we learn from our forebears, those speaking to us from other times and from other places? There's an old cliche that you've likely heard before, but probably never thought much about. Experience is the best teacher. That's too absurd to believe for more than a fleeting moment. Experience is a terrible teacher, the worst. Think of your least favorite teacher ever. Have you got a picture of him or her in your mind? That teacher is 1,000 times better than experience. Why? Experience always gives the test first and the lessons afterwards. Your worst teacher gave lessons before giving quizzes and tests. When you learn from experience, however, you're always looking back, wishing you'd done something differently. Partly, what we accomplish in World Lit is learning to avoid the mistakes of the past, but it's so much more than that too. Anyone who views history as merely the mistakes of the past has a jaundiced view of history. And anyone who sees the present as something new or unique will be surprised and stunned by how much alike people are, regardless of time or place. Because of this, World Lit is an invaluable study of humanity and a study at least as relevant as anything else you might be taking this semester.
George Santayana once wrote, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." Often people cite this quotation to justify studying history. This is even more applicable to studying literature. What literature records is the collective human consciousness. While history often becomes a little more than politics or conquest, literature takes us to the level of the individual and extends itself to the universe and beyond. Nothing is more comprehensive. In literature, we go with explorers as they first glimpse a new land. We go inside the minds of political figures as they explain their thoughts and actions to readers. In literature, we experience the dreams of others as they capture a coveted prize. Conversely, we experience people's failures. People's experiences can often be read in the words of the protagonists of life. We can read Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography, or Jean-Jacques Rousseau's, or Augustine's. What do we gain from a study of literature? Nothing short of insight into human reason, human nature, and human experience. Even a cynic like Niccolò Machiavelli instructs followers of his dog-eat-dog philosophy to spend time reading. Why? Machiavelli claimed we can learn to emulate those we admire and avoid what we find reprehensible. Literature takes us beyond Machiavelli and Santayana too. How? It may show us what things are common to our experience as people. People are people. And some things in our lives are as common as breathing. People breathe, certainly, but what else do we know about being human? Do we have free will? If so, what use should we make of it? What is the good life? If our age is unpromising, or if our circumstances are bleak, what option should we pursue? Are people made for a solitary life? What is love, and how and why does it affect us?
Let's begin this journey of human promise. Over the next several weeks, we will study love, intellect, virtue, and death as revealed in literature. While we won't avoid literature written in the English language, we will avoid covering too much of what students are likely to encounter in American Lit or English Lit. Here in World Lit, we're going to stress sources that are composed in foreign languages. This means we're reading translations, and translations often raise problems. Can a translation capture the full meaning of the original? Those who stress the differences in people, including the differences in languages, history, and culture, often disparage the use of translations, but literature comes to us this way. The Bible, for example, was translated into the King James English in 1611, only some 400 plus years ago. Imagine a world without that translation. Miracles come to us through translation. Do human experiences survive translation? Yes. There's always something lost in translation, but translations can convey the power of original language texts. We can appreciate a good translation, but students of a second language often miss the subtle beauty of the original, even when they understand the second language text. Furthermore, there's a kind of translation that must occur merely to read texts from other ages or other cultures. To make sense of an ancient Sanskrit text, for example, requires a type of translation even if it were mystically written in 21st century English. Why? Their work, their religion, their lives are so foreign.
The Hebrew scriptures begin majestically and assuredly. Bereshith bara Elohim hashamayim v'ha'aretz. Translated quite literally, it means, in beginning created God the heavens and the earth. We get no other introduction. We are told point blank that God did it just that way, as if the narrator were personally present watching over God's handiwork. The narrator gives no explanation of how the account came to be known. It's just given, exploding on the scene like God's very handiwork of creation. There's a stark beauty in the original, but the translation conveys the same sense as the original. If we needed to learn Hebrew first, none of us would have access to the Hebrew Scriptures, today's Old Testament. We can understand the Old Testament. There are universal human needs. One of them is the need to know our origins. How did we get here? What is our purpose? What should we be doing with our lives? Literature tackles these human questions, these universal human questions. Professor Alan Bloom, formerly the University of Chicago professor, wrote sadly about students' reading habits. He claimed his students had stopped reading. Quoting Bloom, "The notion of books as companions is foreign to them. There is no printed word to which they look for counsel, inspiration, or joy." End quote. Studying world lit will change that. If it happens to be true of you, world literature provides a library of the greatest minds of all time, giving us their greatest treasure.
We will spend roughly 1/4 of the semester's time studying each of the following 4 topics: love, intellect, virtue, and death. We're starting our world literature study with love. Love is so universal, so it's contemporary too. It needs little introduction because we see its power all around us and we feel its pull. Next, we'll study intellect. Intellect, human reason, is a tool. It's vast and expansive, but it is limited and dangerous. Human beings discover the cure for polio and split the atom in nuclear fission. We cure and we kill. Virtue, therefore, is a natural follow-up to reason. Can human beings act virtuously? Finally, we deal with death. It looms over mankind, reminding us of our limits. Death is an incurable disease that we are all infected with. Sooner or later, it gets us all. Does it spoil life somehow? Should we be running from it like a character in one of Edgar Allan Poe's macabre stories? Or should we embrace it like a character in one of Emily Dickinson's peaceful poems? Literature provides answers to many things, but even where it has no answers, it helps us to better frame the questions that human beings contemplate.
Join us on our adventure around the world as we explore the wonders of the human experience.
Then come back again and join us for the other half of the adventure. Whether you're in World Lit 1 or World Lit 2, the journey of human promise over time is awesome to behold.